Only on Fox 6 tonight, a multi-million-dollar government contract to provide the software to all state schools is under scrutiny.
A Wisconsin company lost the bid to a firm from Minnesota earlier this year, but there are questions, many of them, about how that happened, and the legal challenges are just beginning. Fox 6's Mike Lowe reports.
Lunchtime at Nicolay High School in Glendale.
One with barbecue, one with hot sauce.
Pizza, pasta, and PIN numbers.
194.
190. 18 what?
There's no need for lunch money in this cafeteria.
Thank you. Thank you.
Students use a barcode on their student ID cards to pay.
Thank you.
As it rings up, it brings up the student's photo and information about what they're eating on a screen in the cafeteria and in their homes if their parents want to make sure their children are eating healthy.
Literally the minute after they go through that lunch line, I as a parent can be out here seeing what my child ate.
In the high school office, using the same software, the secretaries deal with attendance, health records, grades, and more. It's a one-stop shop for student information, a system called Skyward. And it allowed Nicolay to consolidate 9 different computer programs into one software system. Skyward is based in Stevens Point and was founded in 1980 by Jim King.
Once a school district used our software, they would tell their friends, other school districts, and it just mushroomed.
And today, more than half of Wisconsin's school districts use Skyward software, as do 1,400 other school districts in 18 states and 5 other countries.
We've sold our software in China. We've sold it in Argentina. Isn't it ironic we can't sell it in Wisconsin?
The irony is turning to agony for the company's founder. Right now, each school district finds the best software for itself. But in 2011, state officials changed that. They wanted to come up with a way for all of Wisconsin's public schools to have a uniform standard of collecting data.
The legislature and the governor, with my support, said in order to create the best efficiency and to have the best data system in the state of Wisconsin, we need to have a single vendor.
The theory was this: the only way to measure academic achievement across the state was to have uniform reports from all of the school districts.
To measure apples to apples comparison of student achievement across the state.
So it's available to every teacher in the state of Wisconsin.
To achieve that, the State Department of Public Instruction, led by IT specialist Kurt Kiefer, believed there needed to be only one student information system, and it would be awarded in a winner-takes-all kind of competition, a request for proposal, known by the bland acronym RFP.
They base their decision on one system being able to not have to talk to any other system.
So Skyward, already in more than half of the state's school districts, would have to compete for the same business all over again. Only this time, it wouldn't be the schools picking, it would be a group of state experts.
That, to me, is a stab in the back to a Wisconsin company.
On February 1st, the contract was awarded to Infinite Campus, a Minnesota-based company and one of Skyward's competitors. Infinite Campus had beaten Skyward in the RFP process. Infinite Campus was judged to be better technology at a lower price. But now, more than 2 months after the bid was awarded to its rival, Skyward is raising questions about the integrity of the bid process, and a Fox 6 examination shows several irregularities.
It really comes to question the bias of the final 5 evaluators.
Through open records requests, we've found the RFP was initially scored in Skyward's favor. But, and it's unclear why, the same proposals were rejudged, and the scores were essentially flipped toward Skyward's competitor.
That were allowed to change all their scores even though the proposals didn't change.
The Department of Administration refuses to explain why or how that happened, saying it would be inappropriate to comment while the matter is under protest. The department operates under the authority of Governor Scott Walker, who defends it.
The process was set up to protect the public from people being in office, picking people who are political allies or personal friends or allies out there. What they said is you need to have an objective, clear standard. They followed that.
We couldn't believe what we were reading, and so it didn't take much of an effort for us to uncover the flaws in their evaluation process.
For example, Fox 6's own calculations using the numbers from the bid process show that over 10 years, Skyward would cost the Milwaukee Public Schools $2.3 million less than Infinite Campus would. But the Department of Public Instruction says it uses a market basket approach for calculating contracts that shows Infinite Campus would be more than $11 million cheaper for the entire state over a 10-year period. The problem with that, Jim King says, is the calculation doesn't give Skyward credit for already being in half of the schools, meaning there would be no implementation costs if Skyward were chosen.
They're coming out saying we're more expensive, and the numbers just don't come out that way. And we don't have the opportunity to debate them. Everything was done so secretively.
I have an example of...
Mike Weber founded Mequon-based IS Corp., which warehouses data for Skyward. He stands to lose nearly $1 million a year in the deal and did his own audit of what happened. He showed us the actual proposals.
It looks like it was hand-drawn by a 10th grader. In over 40 cases where, Skyward didn't even get the minimum score for what they actually had, including the criteria in the areas that I have. And that really started to trouble me.
The question was why? Why would the legislature award a state contract to an out-of-state company, one that was more expensive, especially when a Wisconsin company was already working well for half of the state?
They were duped. They were duped by Kurt Kiefer when Kurt Kiefer is up there telling them all the great things about a single vendor, telling them that all these other states are successfully doing. This was a lie. It was not debated by anybody with any technical background like myself or any of my staff. And so these politicians, I guess, why would they doubt the head guy of the DPI, the head IT guy of the DPI?
King says the evidence points to Assistant State Superintendent of Schools Kurt Kiefer. So does Weber.
Certainly, Kurt Kiefer had an agenda. He had a preferred vendor. When he didn't get his result the first time around, they rescored.
Before Kiefer became the Assistant State Superintendent, he was the Superintendent of the Madison School District. While there, he had done business with Infinite Campus. He even appeared on the company's website endorsing the product.
In my opinion, Kurt Kiefer was still promoting the Infinite Campus product while he was Assistant Superintendent of the state of Wisconsin.
Requests for an interview with Kiefer were declined. Instead, we spoke with Kiefer's boss, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Evers.
That was when he worked for the Madison School District. When he worked for us, he wasn't out advocating for any of it. And he wasn't part of the decision-making with the Department of Administration. So no, I don't think he influenced at all.
But King believes the process was rigged from the moment it started.
He will deny that he had anything to do with this. I mean, it's so ludicrous. It's ridiculous. For him to be involved and literally heading up this selection process with his biases against us and for Infinite Campus is just, that in itself should throw this whole thing out.
Would I prefer it to be a company from Wisconsin in this case? Absolutely. But that's not what the rules are. That's not what the process is. And we're obligated via the law to follow the objective measures that were laid out in advance of this.
Indeed, on May 2nd, the Department of Public Instruction denied Skyward's protest, saying it, quote, lacks merit and that no law was violated in the RFP process. The next day, State Representative Katrina Shankland went to Skyward and called for a new bill that would allow multiple companies to provide school software systems.
Our bill would allow Skyward to continue doing business here and keep their employees here. It would also save hundreds of Wisconsin jobs.
There is a lot at stake in Stevens Point, where Skyward employs 280 people and plan to add 600 jobs over the next decade.
And our intent was to build a $20 million facility here in Stevens Point. Our roots are in Stevens Point. We want to stay in Stevens Point.
Now the company will almost certainly move to Texas, a state where Skyward won an RFP process.
If I can't sell my product in Wisconsin, I'd be a fool to stay in Wisconsin.
And it's not just Stevens Point that will feel the economic impact.
Scan your card.
More than 200 school districts across the state are facing a technology transition
You have a number?
and trying to find the money to do it. And that means someone will have to pay for it.
Thank you.
The taxpayers are getting raw end of this deal in terms of they're not really having a government agency that's really looking out for their best. They have a government agency that has an agenda, and that's a problem.
Skyward has until the end of the week to file an appeal with the Department of Administration. Skyward's owner says if that is denied, he'll seek a court injunction So, Ted and Mary, this story is far from over.
We've heard from a lot of people, very thorough report, except for the company from Minnesota, Infinite Campus. What are they saying about all this?
Ted, I want to underline and underscore, put in bold letters, that we did attempt to speak with Infinite Campus several times. We tried to speak with their executives. More than half a dozen of our phone calls went unreturned.
It'll be interesting to see with this story now if they will respond, you know, if they see it, if somebody gets word of it. So, yeah.
In 5 days, the next appeal goes to the Department of Administration, and it's in their hands now to see how they can weigh what happened here.
All right, Mike, thanks. Well, it is a long road, but they're off to a good start. Nearly 24 neglected horses slowly being nursed back to health at a